And a great win. Tigers right off the bat.
6 innings, Montero.
Yep. Montero looked great last night. Probably could have went 7 innings if AJ left him in. But he has his plan, and it worked out to perfection. The only way that the Rays scored, they scored on a double to right field. Zach McKinstry throws the guy out at third. As he's throwing him out, the guy just scores before the out, which would have been the third out of the inning. But if you score prior to that tag, the run counts. So that was the only run they had. They weren't even close the rest of the game, and they were terrific. The bullpen was terrific. And like I said, Javi, Colt Keith, and Zach McKinstry, who is going to be an all-star. And Colt Keith was hitting the ball real hard last night, man. He looks like he's coming into his own. He's getting a batting leadoff. I'm like, why are they batting this guy leadoff? But he's starting to show. This guy, AJ Hinch, man, he knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. I have no right to even ask him what he's doing.
Yeah, 100%. No, you talk about the answer. I want to ask you a question. You talk about coming into the season, the pitching staff. That was the thing that we were known for. We knew we had Tarek Skubal. We thought that Jack Flaherty, which he has been, he goes tonight. By the way, we thought we had Jack Flaherty. We knew Jackson Joe would be this young pitcher for us. But still a couple spaces where you were guessing. It seems as though Chris Fetter, shout out to the University of Michigan, he's got these pitchers even better than they were last year. Now some guys with some question marks, like a Cater Montero, like a Casey Mize. Now they're coming in with new stuff. And even the bats. Maz talks about Zach McKinstry, Colton Keith. Now they're hitting the cover out of the ball. Seems like the coaching staff here, they get it right now. Yeah,
and we talked about it with Dan Dickerson yesterday. This is when Scott Harris came in, he talked about the culture from top to bottom. I doubled down the same question I asked Lynn Henning last week. I asked AJ Hinch or Sparky Anderson, and he didn't hesitate either. AJ Hinch. You talk about the Fetter way with the way that these guys pitched last year. You know, you didn't know what Casey Mize was going to do. The guy's come up, showed himself to be healthy, and has been a big-time contributor. In fact, Jack Flaherty, up until he threw 7 strikeouts in a row, has kind of struggled and really hasn't been our true number 2. You see this organization from top to bottom, from low A to triple A in Toledo to here in Detroit. They're all playing above 500 ball, and the micromanagement of each manager and coach, whatever they're doing at every single level, they've brought a different culture to this team. So again, I still think there's some aggression in front of this team. Okay. I don't think that on paper they match up with some of the teams that they have similar records to. But when you have this kind of management and you have this kind of culture, it breeds confidence, and then success follows. So I still think they need a couple more pieces, but they're squeezing every ounce of juice out of this fruit, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that conversation. And one thing that happens in spaces like this is I used to tell people this. In fact, we had a guy that used to do a show here, and he's a big bowler. Big bowler. He competed in the States. I think he won the States one year, finished top 10 a couple times. And I told him, I don't care about that.
You talking about Scotty G?
100% talking about Scotty G. And the reason I bring him up, I said, you got to beat me head to head. I was like, I don't care about your record. I don't care about what you do when I'm not around.
That's right.
You got to beat me. We had a fun little Woodward Sports outing, and I come to the outing, didn't even warm up. Maz knows I'm not lying. I didn't. I shot a 247. It wasn't league style, so it wasn't cross. But I shot 247 with a house ball. Huh. And then he shot 219, or maybe I don't think he shot 200. My point is this. I understand that about those teams. I understand those about those celebs, as you want to say. But you got to come to Comerica Park and beat us. And if our record's better than you, then you got to come to Comerica Park 4 out of the 3 games, and you got to show us that you're that good.
And you got to see Tarek Skubal 3 times in 7 games.
Exactly. Like, you got to show me this in person. And I like our chances with AJ Hinch and the squad in person. Maz, first time since 2013 that this team has been, 24.
Amazing.
24 wins over
And that 500. Was one hell of a team. You know what happened to that team.
And I think we're starting.
Big Poppy happened to that team.
I think people are starting to believe that this team is better than that one.
It could be. It doesn't look like it on paper. Let's face it, that 2013 was chock full of stars. This one is just young guys on their way up, all playing together like a terrific basketball team. It's amazing how this team plays together. That catch by Riley Green last night was outstanding.
Yep.
He makes it look so easy. Parker Meadows, he's like a gazelle in center field. Zach McKinstry plays 8 out of 9 positions. Dylan Dingler is throwing out runners left and right. I don't really have any other superlatives to put on this team. You saw what happened to Ryan Sweeney the other day. Trey Sweeney hits the game-winning home run in the 10th against Cleveland on Sunday. That's right, Trey Sweeney. The light-hitting shortstop that is in and out of games, up and down from AAA. Everybody is chipping in on this team, and you know what? Torque isn't getting his numbers aren't huge, but he's hitting the hell out of that baseball. He's just hitting it to the warning track and to the wall. He is going to hit 35-plus home runs this year.
Side note, Parker Meadows, that white boy can run.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Every time I turn, I'm like.
He's a gazelle.
He's fast. There's fast, and there's fast. Yeah. Parker Meadows is fast.
White boy fast.
One thing about that paper, talking about on paper, 2004, somebody looked like they could beat somebody on paper.
No doubt.
Insert the gentleman sweep of the Detroit Pistons over the Lakers. Pete, sir, this team, man, it's like Matt said, not enough superlatives. 58 wins already, 24 above 500. Blah 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 blah.
Why not? I'd like to blah, blah, blah about first-place teams all day, Mr. Braylon Edwards. It's a lot fun to blah, blah, blah about first-place teams and last-place teams because 2 years ago we were wondering where the hell this team was going. They decided to play Moneyball. It's working for them. You got to figure out a way to get Tarek Skubal under a deal. I know he doesn't want to do it now. I get it. You're going to have to make – see, now you're going to have to go from the Moneyball aspect to having to make a move here and making a move there. We'll see where that goes. But right now, the Tigers are going to get Jason Foley back after the All-Star break. They're going to combine him with Will Vest, and I call Will Vest, the German version, because he pitches like a crazy frickin' just, shut down reliever closer. I love Will Vest, and I'm excited for Jason Foley to come back. The right time. Everything's fitting in for the Tigers at the right time as the second half begins because all these pitchers are going to come back. We might even get Alex Cobb, even though, Braylon, I'm not a big fan of Mr. Alex Cobb, but at least it's a veteran arm. You're going to have him coming back at the right time. That's important. If you can at least get an inning or two out of the guy, you might as well get an inning or two out of the guy. There's a lot of positive things happening right now for the Tigers. Let's hope that the All-Star game goes well for them. We stay injury-free, all that fun stuff. Yeah, I'm going to say that out there, but let's have some fun for the All-Star break. Let's get ready for the second half.
Anson, this is a great question for you. I think you have a lot of great points as it relates to contracts, when they should get done, who you should pay, and things of that nature. Tarek Skubal, we were told to shelf that conversation. So pretty much I think we've shelved that conversation for the past 3 weeks, maybe even a month. But here it is, getting closer to the trade deadline. The Pitt Tigers are where they are, thinking about these things. Is there any reason to open that conversation up and maybe try to pay Tarek Skubal? Where are you with that?
Another question we asked Dan Dickerson yesterday on a follow-up to what we asked Lynn Henning last week.
My apologies, third time. Here we go.
But the two of them were very different. Lynn last week, he said it's not happening. They're not going to re-sign him. He's going to realize free agency and will probably get outbid. And he was content to take a compensatory pick in exchange, which when we clipped and posted that on Twitter, boy, Tiger fans were not happy. I think that when you look at getting 2 years out of him, health assumed this guy is the best pitcher in baseball, and it's possible he could win you 2 World Series in those 2 years. To just let him walk after that for compensatory pick, I don't think that this team would be willing to do that. I think that at some point he would get traded. Now, yesterday we talked to Dan Dickerson, and pretty quickly he refuted that. He was saying that Lynn, last year wanted to trade Skubal, but I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think that this team doesn't want to pay a $500 million contract. I don't think that it's in their DNA currently, and it might not be ever in their DNA. You look at what trading him would do to this team in a year from now, and I think that would be absolutely tremendous. I think that Dan Dickerson kind of expects us to really make a play, but at the same point, if the writing's on the wall and this guy's going to go west or east and end up at one of the big city coast teams, then at that point you got to cash in. You can't just get a compensatory pick for the best guy in the league. But Tigers fans, there's not a whole lot of reason to talk about extending Skubal this year because it's absolutely not happening. Right. That guy goes out and gets another Cy Young, and the next thing you know, The bidding starts talking about $600,000. So he'd be doing himself a disservice by signing on any dotted line right now.
Probably the best 3 pitchers in baseball right now: Willer, Skeens, and Skubal. And I would have to take Terry Skubal over the other 2, even though Paul Skeens pitched a nasty game 2 days ago. Maz, how many wins does not bringing back Terry Skubal cost you?
Probably 15 to 20 wins. 15 to 20 wins, plus maybe even more, because you don't know what the rest of the pitching staff's going to do. But we got time for that.
Yeah.
Like we've been saying, we got him under control this year, and they got him under control next year. You pitch him, and next year, as if Anson's saying you want to trade him at the deadline, if you can't sign him, I don't know about that. It depends on how far you want to go in the playoffs. You don't trade a guy that is a horse.
If you're in the same situation and you're like 20 games above 500,
yeah, but
you got to trade him because you know you can't sign him. That's tough. So maybe
you need him for the playoffs.
And that's the thing is maybe Lynn has a great point. Maybe it ends up being just a compensatory pick.
It does, but who knows? Maybe he wants to stay in Detroit when it's all said and done, like Dan said yesterday. So let's not talk about it. Let's enjoy him while he's here. He is a horse. He's the best pitcher in baseball, bar none.